Here I am.
It works.
It works.
Yay. Hello, everybody.
Streaming all virtual today, and thank you so much, Sarah, for helping us adapt to this. I know this is kind of a different format than what we had been doing with the other authors events because Watershed Books is undergoing some maintenance today. So we're all grateful to be able to stream from home and celebrate and talk with and hear from Octavia Knight, our author for today. So thank you for being here, Octavia.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And Sarah, is there anything you wanted to mention before I get into our introduction for our author today?
No, just we're really excited about this author series that has been going on, and I'm really excited about the variety of people that have been writing and putting their stuff out there. And so anyway, thank you everyone for joining us today. And if you want to go back and view the rest of the series, you can find it on our website under videos, and you can see the other published people in our area that you can support and see more about their stuff.
And then the format for people who are joining in this author's event for the first time, I'll introduce our author Octavia, and then she will read an excerpt from her new debut book. I've got it right here, my signed copy, Faceless Expressions. And so Octavia will do a reading for us, and then I will have a couple questions to get the conversation going. Then we'll open it up to everybody on Airmeet. We've got a nice crowd already on Airmeet today, so thank you to those who have joined in. You'll be able to ask your questions, comments, things that you wanted to say about Octavia's book and her writing style, and we'll keep on top of all those comments and see where we go from there. So I also wanted to shout out to the author series. Last week we had Byron Hoot, and before that we had David Dreyer, and thank you to Nick LaBelle from the Punxsutawney Spirit, who, Sarah, did you see that we were on the front page? I was not expecting that, but wonderful to get the coverage and the spotlight on these authors and the way that we've been able to showcase local authors and all the publishing efforts happening locally. So yeah, thank you to the Spirit and Jefferson County Neighbors for helping us spread the word. So today we've got Octavia Knight, and Octavia is very active in a lot of the local writers groups and has been for quite some time. So Octavia has been active with the Rebecca M. Arthurs, various writing groups there. She's also from Punxsutawney, and so she's involved with the Stained Glass Writers in Punxsutawney, a wonderful writing group out that way run by Jane Murphy. And then she's involved with us at the Writers Block Party, based in Brookville, but serving all areas across the Tri-County part of the state. And Octavia is a frequent submitter to the Watershed Journal, and so we've benefited from being able to showcase her work in several editions of the journal, including the upcoming winter edition, which should be ready sometime next week, and so we're very excited to be able to share that with everybody too. So Octavia has a style that is all her own. It's I would describe as very emotionally resonant, heavy with imagery and sort of gothic influence, I would say, in several of the poems and pieces. And so without any further ado, I'm going to let Octavia start her reading from Faceless Expressions, which is available at Watershed Books. And many other places we'll talk about later. So thank you, Octavia. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here to read from my book. So my book is divided in 3 different sections. The first one starts writings from when I was in high school. And then the second is stuff I started for college classes. And then the third section is just post-college experimental work. So I'll read a couple pieces from each one so you can get a feel of the book if you haven't read it yet. we'll just dive right in. This first one's called And Then Came the Crows. Every day I rise, and it is still dark out. I rise before the small creatures and before the people of my house. Unlike the rooster, I am the first to greet the rising sun. I meet the day with fresh air. I rise before the sun every day. The sun rises, and the day opens with light. Life is renewed. But then the day stretches thin. The sun grows old, tired. And then come the crows, to feed on flesh and lifeless dreams, as darkness feasts upon my soul. My day to come. What life could ever be as damned as Frankenstein's monster? My heart pumped fear and loathing, filling it with vile corruption. And now my life is wasted in meaningless deeds to others. Yet the world is not indebted to me, for I am unthankful to the world, still a slave to it. With a wicked sense of humor, I push through the irony. How unnerving the desires of the wicked and cruel mind. Eternal suffering unmatched. For the most sodden demon, yet I yearn for it. I cannot plead my conscience any longer. Despite the love and tenderness of my heart, my soul is black with hatred. For peace, I'll accept loneliness. A wish for more pain than more pleasure. I am tempted every day. Oh, the temptation. Waiting to be granted one regret. I pray that I will be judged for my treacheries, for all the days to come. To be depraved of happiness, left cold, naked, and weak. But unlike the monster, I long for the one thing he could never escape, and perhaps he for the one thing I cannot maintain. We have both suffered the cruelties of society, in our days of madness, playing both victim, the villain, a single soul split in two, waiting to be separated permanently. Shout curses to an undivine creator, until I am granted my day to come as promised, and set free at last. Complete separation of mind, body, and soul. One shall live without the others. Renewed, empty and vacant, the next scavenger of life's cruelest fate. This next piece I'm going to read is a rather long short story. I'm only going to read kind of the intro of it here. It's called The Inevitable End. Thump. I can't breathe. My body aches all over. I open my eyes, and all I see is a haze of fuzzy green. I smell the lingering scent of peppermint. I'm drowning in a bog. I slide my hands through the surface. It is very soft and fluffy. It's not a bog. After a few seconds, my eyes adjust to confirm that I am lying on my bedroom floor, the lime green carpet now in focus. I look up. The sunlight reflecting off the snow outside sends scorching light through the curtains in a blinding blaze. It burns my eyes as I rise. Like I woke in the domain of Hades, a fiery hell, no exit. A mixture of birds chirpings and cars speeding down the road caused me to become aware of life. I climb onto my bed and look at the clock. 1:34 p.m. I've slept in again. I roll on my back and stare at the ceiling. I try to remember the dream I had last night, but all I get is a blank, empty screen. Still, I have to recreate the dream. There are no sounds in my head, just an empty void wanting to be filled with something. Anything happy that will make me appreciate sleeping in for so long. All that is left is the feeling of impact, like I collided with my doom. It's the only thing I can rely on, the only thing that remains the same. Falling and waking on the floor. But the dream is still gone, so I imagine being the wind to fill the space in my mind. I can blow gently through the trees. The feeling is there as I close my eyes. It's late December, Christmas morning. The branches, naked of their leaves, are easier to pass through, like passing through a brittle fence. I bump into a bird's nest. 3 small eggs lie broken in the center. Dried and yellow crust line the inside of the empty shells. I imagine now being a bird, free to fly higher than I dare on the wind. Wind is endless, spaceless, and timeless. I am a bird. No, I am the wind, and I can go anywhere. Time seems to be moving slower as I shapeshift back into human form. I open my eyes. The sun glares even brighter through those dreadfully bright orange curtains, the shade of orange one gets from cutting open a ripe mango. Not really the popular neon color I was hoping for. The stale color is the result of my mom trying to be a mom. If I had gone to the store with her and told her straight up that I was looking for Halloween orange and not a peachy, unpleasant shade, she would have known exactly what my favorite color is. Instead, I am forced to look at this nauseating color every day. It's not her fault. I turn away from the window and stumble out of bed, not bothering to change out of my pajamas, and make my way downstairs. I think of the presents pinned with bows and tied with tinsels nestled under the tree, which is strung with lights and stooping under the weight of handcrafted snowmen hanging from the branches. I descend the stairs and realize that the thought of Christmas had not entered my mind until this very moment. For the last few weeks, Christmas did not occur to me at all. Somehow I had completely forgotten the occasion, and it seems my parents had too. I didn't hear them downstairs. Why didn't they wake me up? I suppose I shouldn't expect anything. These days they seem to be avoiding me. I creep down the stairs, the floorboards creaking under me like the whispers of a tiny frog croaking out, betraying me with every step. Proof I am alive. I crush it to death one step at a time. I feel the railing gliding under my hand. Then I stop. I don't want to go. Something is off. I'm not scared. No, it's different than fear. The scent of peppermint turns into a moldy smell. My body freezes. All the muscles tense up, and I feel each one tighten and cramp. I begin feeling like the portrait of a timid animal slowly transforming into a stone statue, paralyzed by the unknown. What is it I'm unsure about? Somehow I manage to reach the kitchen without realizing it. No one is there. I am alone. The coffee pot sits in the corner of the room, untouched. Breakfast is not prepared, and the mail is still sitting on the table. They didn't get up. I checked the clock on the microwave. 1:58 p.m. I rush silently to the living room and compare the time with the clock on the fireplace mantel. It's the same. There can be no mistake. I stand quietly trying to listen for the sound of my parents. I look about me. The room is dimly lit. The curtains are still closed. The Christmas tree lights are off. Dad usually runs downstairs on Christmas morning and turns all of them on, because Mom will not allow us to leave them on during the night. She says they'll burn the house down if we do. But Christmas morning has come and gone without a twinkle. No presents lie under the small tree bristles. I remember the purple bike I got when I was 10, and the porcelain doll with the blue eyes and brown curly hair I got when I was 7. Mom said she looked just like her sister Amy, who died young, so I never met her. I thought the doll looked more like Mom, just like how she looked in the old family photo album when she was 7. The doll always made Mom smile, but then she would always get sad and hug me real close. I noticed that the room looks bigger, and there aren't a whole lot of things in it. I'm sure there used to be. Maybe they just cleaned up, took things out that didn't need to be there. I just shrugged, thinking of all my Christmas past. On one Christmas, my grandma Lois got me a collection of tiny glass horses. We used to talk about horses all the time. Grandma Lois loved horses. When she was a girl, She had 3: Wilson, Pepper, and Charlie. Pepper was her favorite because of the white and black spots he had. She promised that one day she would buy me a paint horse when I was older, but for now it was collectibles. Grandma Lois died before I was 9, the year after she got me the glass horses. The distant sound of carolers disrupts me from my thoughts. I walk over to the window and peer out. There are about 12 or 13 of them lined in 3 rows, standing in front of the house next to mine. I don't recognize the song they are singing, so I decide to creep outside to get a better listen. I grab my coat and step outside. The afternoon sun hangs high in the sky, melting down the mounds of snow from the previous night. I put on my coat, but don't zip up. I notice an old man standing in the street. His face is wrinkly, the flesh already to peel off his bones. There is a hint of sadness in his gray eyes. The wind blows, spreading the music of the carolers in the air, combined with the soft flowing water in the creek around my house, with the calling of the birds in the trees above. Nature's orchestra plays in harmony. All around peace is in the air. The old man walks on alone, his head now bowed. Flowers in hand, he crosses the yard toward the house on the hill. I follow him, ducking behind every tree and bush, so not to be detected. I stop to catch my breath. I feel a little dizzy and lean against the bush. I snag my coat on the brambles. The ripping sound is loud. I ignore the hole and wait to make sure the old man didn't hear me. After a few seconds, I peer around the bush to see the old man walking on as if I did not exist. I continue to follow him up the path into Circle Hill Cemetery. The old man walks around the rows of gravestones. I follow, ducking behind every tombstone big enough to shield me. Finally, the old man stops in front of a gravestone. He is a standing skeleton of a thing, waiting to fall apart. The old man begins to shake. I feel like walking over and saying that I'm sorry or something. But I fight the urge and turn back to head home. The trip back was a lot quicker. The carolers are still there, so I enter through the back door and I am back in the kitchen. Inside, there is still no sign of my parents. A fly lands on the rim of a glass bowl sitting on the table. Crusted flakes cling to the surface of the bowl. The remains of last night's cereal catches the fly's attention. Wings vibrate as the fly crawls around the edge, licking up the stale morsels, consuming every last bit. I close my eyes and hum along with the buzzing. Thoughts flow wildly through my head. I am a fly. I was born in an abandoned pizza box on the floor of a small apartment. The leftovers of a medium extra cheese with anchovies, now stale with green fuzz sprouting out in tiny patches of a half-eaten slice. A heaven on earth. I haven't been paying attention to where I am flying. I smash into the window. A flash of light, and I change. I am no longer the fly. Now I am an old woman. My frail, bony feet ache, and I am weary of life, tired, and alone. With only flies to keep me company. Buzz, buzz, buzzing all around. Buzz, buzz, thump, thump. I hear my mom coming down the stairs. Her slow steps, each one heavier than the last, fill the air with a hollow sound. I open my eyes and watch her enter the kitchen. Her body moves like a drone, rehearsed and driven to perform the tasks of each day. The same as the day before. She lingers in the doorway. I can see her trying to choke back tears. I feel like there's a stranger in my house. I can't remember a single time when my mom cried, not even when her father died. And I'll stop the story there. You can finish the story by purchasing my book. Alright, I'm going to move on to another short story. This one is called The Girl Who Was Sent to Prison for Murdering a Pair of Shoes. It was a stifling mucky morning on Saturday in July. Due to the amount of rain that had soiled the ground only a few short hours ago, the moisture had clung to the girl's shoes as she entered the building to start her 5.5-hour shift at the nursing home. She tried to wipe the dew off on the carpet inside. She's tried stomping and pummeling it to death, really, but as she walked on, the moisture remained. After a few steps, her shoes would give a great and horrible scream. The wail of a banshee, the girl thought. It was enough to deafen the ghost of that haunted place. She cringed at each shrieking step. As she walked down the hall towards the kitchen, she could not help but to keep her gaze fixated upon the villainous pair engulfing her feet. She could not, however, avoid the reaction of her fellow employees as she passed, and the squeals erupted in their ears. For the next several grueling hours, the girl tried to maneuver her feet to not make them slide across the floor. In fact, she tried as much as possible to take long, slow steps. It was most likely humorous to those working. It must have looked like she was doing a marching dance routine. Unfortunately, after 3.5 hours, the girl could no longer take the screech of those vile shoes, sharply piercing her eardrums. "Oh, damn shoes! I can't stand any more squeaking sounds. And these shoes are of the worst caliber. It's like someone made a bell that mimics the sound of nails on a chalkboard and stabbed one in each of my ears," the girl expressed loudly to the cook standing only a foot away, probably already half deaf by the shoe's constant screaming. The cook simply shook her head and continued her work. She moved over to her sinks, blasting the faucets on high. Yet even with the two faucets' loud roar and the thunder of the dishwasher which the girl was running, the wail of the shoes was most prevailing. "Christ, these shoes! I'd rather cut off my own feet than go on listening to that squeaking." "Ooh, that's extreme. Why the hell would you cut off your feet?" asked the other KitchenAid. Because I don't have any other shoes to switch into, and I'm so flustered that I'd rather not have need of shoes ever again. Damn these monstrosities, and fuck having ugly feet too." "I'd love to see you cut off your own feet," mocked the other aide. "Ha! I just might." "I don't think you can do it either," said the cook. The girl glared between the two, reaching for the handles of the food cart in front of her. As she pushed the cart to its resting place at the end of tray line, her left foot slid across the floor, and the infamous shriek blared into all three of their ears. "Ah, screw this!" the girl cried. She ran over to the cook's side, the shoes wailing out like an army of vultures, and grabbed the biggest kitchen knife she could find and dropped to the floor. Before the other two knew what was happening, the girl raised the sharp knife into the air. As she brought it down, she grinned at the shoes, a vicious laugh escaping her lips. There was a terrible hailing of screams. All at once, the girl, the cook, the other aide, and the shoes released their most powerful cries. The girl, or maybe the shoes, let out the loudest, most hideous cry of all. Blood volcanoed out of the newly formed stump on the girl's left leg, her foot drowning in the now forming pool a few inches away. "Oh my God! Holy shit!" the cook and the other aide said together, unable to process what they had just witnessed. Despite the overwhelming pain, the girl did what they all least expected. She raised the knife in the air again and brought it gliding down onto the right ankle. This time, there were no screams or any sounds at all. The girl simply dropped the knife, grabbing hold of both of her bloody stumps. Moments later, the cook passed out. The other aide couldn't move or even breathe. She just stood there staring. Meanwhile, the girl started to laugh. "Damn you, screechy shoes. Oh my God, my legs!" The kitchen was flooded with nurses and other employees of the building. At the sight of them, the girl cried out, "Watch out for the evil shoes! Die, fiends!" She grabbed the knife once more and began violently stabbing the shoes, blood gushing out from her dismembered feet. Everyone was in shock. Everyone except the person who ran out of the kitchen to call the police. After being rushed to the hospital, where she spent weeks in recovery, the girl was sent to prison on account of murdering a perfectly good pair of sneakers. Her plea of innocence, on the other hand, was revoked. Her claim that an evil spirit had possessed the shoes was dismissed. The courts trashed her case due to invalid witness testimony. The cook was forced into early retirement and sent to a faraway care home where she received special psychiatric care and was put on heavy medication for the severe seizures she was now prone to. The other aide had simply quit her job and became a serious alcoholic and drug abuser to help her control her anxiety while she spent her days trying to sell the many paintings she recreated of the incident. The girl spent 4 months in a high-security state corrections facility. In the end, after agonizing months of parole trials, court hearings, and prison life, the girl was ultimately sent to an insane asylum for cutting off her own feet. She remains there to this day, feetless, and forever free from the hideous cry of the banshee shoes. For she was placed in a wing where everyone, even the orderlies, wore slippers. And I'll end with one short poem here. It's titled Our Secret Spot. Amber glows in the sky. Sun sets, chirping birds. Wind blows leafless branches, stale dried leaves, sweet and sour, scents of water. The bare wilderness, surrounds the spot where we used to sit. Cold cement, chipped with age, the only remains of a bridge that once bore trains, unable to endure the weight of engines, passing long ago. My younger sister and I sit up high, overlooking the creek, coursing tainted liquid, 1,000 years of decay, flowing along the narrow trench. The hum and whisper of nature drowns the road. This is where we'd go, our wilderness, to be at peace. This is our secret spot, our old house. These were our memories. Do you remember our song? The one we wrote together all those years ago? No? I go there still, that wilderness, now my secret spot. A place to myself, where I can be alone, to think, to remember, to be at peace, for a little while. Alright, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed my reading.
Oh, Rachel, thank you so much for reading from, and all of those were from the book, is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so one of the really great things about what you did for us just now is we got to see some of the poetry as well as the short stories and flash and microfiction that you have in the book, which is not just a variety of mode of writing, which shows that you really have a comfort with all different types of writing, but also the variety in chronology that a lot of the writing you said started in high school and now has moved on, to things that you have written very recently. I think the story about the shoes, wasn't that for one of the writers groups? There was a prompt.
I think so. I just remember, so I did used to work at a nursing home in the kitchen, and I just remember raining, and then my shoes kept squeaking, so when I got home, and I just, sat down and wrote that story in, 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, so it's funny that one in particular is funny because there's kind of a humorous element to it because it's so melodramatic about something that is so kind of, the idea of shoes being something that really terrorizes someone is kind of a silly premise, but you bring a lot of gravity to it with your tone and the way that you approach it. And certainly the action in there with the knife and that dramatic scene. So let me ask you, and then we'll get to some of the comments because people are on Airmeet are commenting, and I love to see that. So we want to hear from everybody here today. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about when you were going through your work and looking at things that you had written back in high school and things that you have written recently. How did you determine what you wanted to put in your book and what kind of overall tone and concepts and themes you wanted to bring out in your first publication?
So I think this book idea kind of started when I was in college, because I have my degree in writing, so I took a ton of different writing classes. In this one particular class, it was a creative writing class, but the professor specifically said he didn't want us writing fantasy or like science fiction. The assignment was he wanted us to write a piece that made us think about life. And my immediate thought was, what's the one thing that makes you think about life more than death? So I wrote The Inevitable End was my assignment. And after I finished that story, I thought about some of the things that I wrote in high school and how they could kind of fit that same mood a little bit. So then I kind of started putting things together to kind of fit that dark kind of mood that I had when I was in high school, and how I kind of got back to it in college. And then after college, when I really got involved in these writing clubs, and I was experimenting with trying to find my voice as a writer, and trying to develop better poetry. I kind of just, I don't know, I felt like they kind of just went together.
Hmm. Now, talking about your poetry a little bit, I know that you had done you made an effort to read poets that you might not have gravitated towards on your own, and so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that you've done, whether it's through your college courses in writing or since then with some of the self-initiated things that you do. What are some of the things that you have learned along the way that have helped to shape who you are as a writer and what your voice is?
Um, so it was really hard for me to find my voice as a writer and like find my style, because first of all, I like way too many things. I like horror, I like science fiction, I like fantasy, and I didn't feel like a poet that much. I felt like my poetry was weak and confusing, and trying to develop better poetry. And so yeah, I did a lot of different reading. Yeah, I tried reading different poets, and I also listened to a lot of their interviews on how they approach that and different techniques. And I just experimented until eventually, I think that I've got my unique voice down. But yeah, I just spent a long time. And in college, I also took a lot of literature classes. So I've read a lot of different poetry and a lot of different other stuff. So I just, and I'm still reading, and I'm still studying things. I like to consider myself a scholar first and a writer second, because I spent a lot of time reading. Uh, so yeah, it's taken a long time, but I think I'm finally at a comfortable level, and I'm able to put all of this information and kind of do my own thing with it.
Great, yeah. So we have a lot of comments coming in and questions coming in via our Airmeet chat, and Sarah's popping in. Sarah, did you want to take the lead on those?
Well, I wanted to first of all invite anyone who wanted to ask Rachel their question face to face. If you would like to talk with her up here, like Jess and I are, click that. If you're on Airmeet, you can click that raise hand button. In the if you want to go ahead and you can click that, and it'll show us the order, and we can invite you in. We've also got some great questions and comments going on Facebook. So I thought that I would start with the comments that were coming on Facebook. Give you guys some time to raise your hand if you'd like to ask the question in person, and then we can start rolling through the chat. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, we've got a great group of people watching on Facebook. And let's see, Peggy Zortman. We got some questions here from beloved Peggy Zortman. She said, Octavia, I enjoy your reading, and I like them better as you read. Do you have a specific audience in mind for your writing? and for the stories and the poetry?
So yeah, that is another thing I kind of struggled with. What is my target audience? So for this particular book, I feel like the target audience would most likely be like teenage adolescents, at that age where you're not sure who you are as a person and like you've got all these feelings and like hormones and like life is confusing and mysterious and dark. Um and I don't know. So I think that was the main focus of audience, but I don't know. Some of my works is so funny that I think it appeals to a wider range of people.
Great. Oh, did I turn on? Yep, I turned it back on. That's wonderful. I think it's great to zero in on something that is so specific that it's real, but it's general enough that you can pull from it. You can say, this applies to me too. So we have no one raising their hands. Do we have anyone brave enough to come on the screen and ask questions? And I'm just going to start going through the chats and seeing the questions that we have here. Patricia Thrushart, also a poet, comments, I like the phrase undivine creator. That's an interesting thought right there. What's your thinking about that collection of words?
Well, see, I feel like as a writer, we all have that kind of God complex. And not to like diss religion or any, beliefs or anything, but sometimes I don't feel like the most holy of creators when I'm working on stuff. So like sometimes, things are so dark you can't have like, you have your good divine, place, and then you're not so good dark undivine. I don't. It's just I guess the mood kind of helped to inspire that sort of thinking.
Well, philosophically, it's an interesting perspective. I like that. Fred Wilbur comments, that is a strange, vivid story, and he likes the secret spot. How much of your writing do you focus on the imagery?
I see. I like imagery. I like being visual, and describing things. In that particular piece, that's a real thing. My sister and I had this spot in the woods that we would go to, this old bridge, and I was trying to recreate the scene and the feel of that, sacred place that we had. So I feel like most of the time imagery is very important to get to help me place the reader in that space.
Good deal. So again, on Airmeet, guys, if you want to click that raise hand button on the top right of your screen, and I'm just going to keep rolling through these great questions. Wayne asks, another poet, as you look back on your work written years ago and compare it to what you have written more recently, what observations have you made?
I certainly think that I've improved in my writing recently. I'm not really sure how. I feel like the mood has also changed. I feel like things in high school were a lot darker and didn't seem like there was going to be any happiness to be had at that point. But I feel like that's what all teenagers feel like. And then moving through, I feel like things got you know less serious. Um, and they I don't know. I just experimented with a lot of different things after college, so I kind of just like branched it out on a wider range of techniques and things. So I feel like that probably shows.
Great. And we have Laurel Rising, another writer, Lori. She's commenting on Facebook. Although I'm far from being a teen, I certainly picked up on those tones. Well done for focusing on your audience and making it relatable for all ages. And then I'm going to go to Lynn comments. I love hearing you read your work. That's something that you can never replace the writer's voice. You can make up your own in your mind, and you may have thought of it. Sometimes you can be disappointed because you've made it up in this way, much like when it's translated into a TV show. But at the same time, it's just a whole different ballgame hearing the way that the original writer reads it. So I'm glad we're doing this. Cass comments, I loved all of it. And then Lynn says, as bloody as that was, I found myself laughing. She's all about that. And then let's see sorry, I switched off my screen. There we go. Patricia Thrushhart comments, I remember when Rachel read that piece at a writer's group and we all had the same reaction, some shock and some laughter. Patty comments, you seem like such a positive and cheerful person and your writing has a strong dark quality. Does your writing help you maintain an upbeat mood? Good question.
Haha. So yeah, so I feel like every person kind of has their dark half. They always have, there's the your everyday normal personality, the thing that you share with people, but everybody has inner secrets and inner feelings, and even when I'm not feeling depressed or down, sometimes I don't know, writing something that seems kind of dark and depressing kind of helps me be like, okay, well, that's over with now, back to getting through life and being content and moving forward and looking for the positive. So, it's therapeutic sometimes, and, sometimes, the mood can be really dark, and I could be feeling down, and maybe I want to take a dark mood and kind of make it funny and make it things a little bit brighter that way.
And Patty also comments, scholar first and writing second. I like that. I like that too. Cass notes again, she's my daughter, and I loved all of it. She's very proud, and that's wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks,
and then, Mom. Yay. Fred comments, I like the 2-sentence stories. Where did you get that idea?
Oh man, I can't quite remember where I saw these. I don't know if it was something I randomly saw online or something from school. I just remember thinking, people are trying to tell a story in only 2 sentences. What's the most essential thing that you can, kind of summarize a story in 2 sentences? So then I just, again, just experimenting, trying to dig out the heart of a in just 2 lines. Is a very challenging thing. I recommend all writers trying it. I also, in my book, I did 6-word stories, which are even harder, I think. But I like kind of playing around with. I like doing flash fiction. I love flash fiction. I love the challenge of trying to tell a story and really just dig out the heart and essence of it in the smallest amount of writing possible.
All right, and Fred, his next question to follow that up is: do you challenge writing? Do you challenge yourself writing? I think. Do you take on something you don't do well to see if you can develop your skills? And along with that, what's next for you?
So yes, I challenge myself all the time. And that's where all the extra reading comes into play too. So like one thing that I've been trying to improve on is different like poetry styles, like doing like sonnet writing, and iambic pentameter is something that I can't do very well. So I've been trying to perfect that particular area. so yeah, I'm constantly drowning in scrap bits of scribbles here and there, just trying, messing around with things and trying to improve. Um, so the next project I started in November for the NaNoWriMo. I started a book that it's all horror this time. It's a book of short horror stories with a connecting story arc. It's about a writer. He was a romance writer, but he's not very successful. His older brother, who is a famous horror writer, and he wants to be that. So he decides to switch from romance to horror. So he starts writing down these short stories, and then he has this little guy, this little gargoyle, kind of influencing him and talking to him and like encouraging him and inspiring these stories. But as it progresses, things start, becoming reality and all kinds of stuff. And so we get into some like demonic things. So yeah, I'm working on this collection of short stories.
All right. I think we have time for a couple more questions. Wayne says, name a few writers that you have found most interesting and enjoyable.
Oh wow, that's a really tough thing. I guess I'm only gonna stick with things that kind of fit this genre because I like I said, I read a lot and I have a lot of really favorite writers, but I'm gonna state the obvious and say Poe, Lovecraft, Plath, um, uh, who else? Um, Probably some Bram Stoker. I like that Dracula stuff. Stuff like that. I mean, I would say those were probably the top 5 or so. But I like a lot of other things. Yeah, I like Tolkien and J.K. Rowling, and I've been reading a lot of Star Wars. So some of the people who write Star Wars are pretty good. And then just other poets that I can't recall the name of right now. Yeah.
Well, great. I've got one more last comment here. Lynn comments, your growth as a writer has grown so much. She's a big fan of yours, and she just wanted to comment how much she's seen with your growth. This has been a lot of fun. Rachel, you've got so much going on in your head, and it's really interesting to watch how you navigate, not just through the ideas that come to you, but as a discipline. I mean, the discipline of reading, the discipline of continuing to write. Two things that I'm challenging myself to get better at, for sure. Jess, I'm going to bring us all back up here so we can, if I can figure out how to do this. Oh, dear. There we go. Okay.
Ah, here we are.
Yay.
Success.
The 3 muses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rachel, or Octavia, I'm so sorry. Octavia, thank you so much for your reading today, your insight. And I just want to echo that I think it's so inspiring how you are really working on, taking what you do very seriously, taking yourself seriously in terms of thinking about craft, and even after school, taking those courses, but even after school, continuing that journey, because I think that, that's where we all are in terms of this, path that we're on, finding our own voice and being true to that, and experimenting, but still being authentic. And, so it's great to see in this book, again, Faceless Expressions, Experience of a Soulless Mind. So it's great to see your progression as a writer through this book and to hear your insight on it. Again, this book is available at Watershed Books. We'll be back. We're closed today for maintenance, but we will be back and better than ever on Tuesday and regular hours after that, all this week and next. So you can pick up a book here. We can arrange curbside pickup. Also, we have it online at, you can look at Bookshop, or if you go to our website, Sarah, what's the link for the online space that we have for that? I forget.
Go to the watershedjournal.org. I'll go there right now and post the link.
Oh, okay. So we have an online space where books by regional writers are there, and then you can click on those books to see where you can purchase, whether it's through Bookshop or Amazon or wherever, if you're getting your books online these days. And thank you again so much, Rachel, or I'm so sorry. Thank you so much, Octavia. And Sarah, thank you for getting this program all set up so that we can still continue to do what we do in a remote setting and bring in everybody from home to join in. So this was great. And next week we will have the journal making workshop with Patricia Thrushhart, which we're very excited about. And we'll have all kinds of information updated on Facebook and on our website, so stay plugged into our literary calendar for that. And then we'll continue our author series after that, and I'm trying to remember who we have up next.
Well, let me go to our calendar real quick. The link to see all the local authors whose books are available online is the watershedjournal.org/PAWilds-authors, and I put it there in the link. So Sunday, where am I on my calendar? This is what I love about how organized I am. It's so good. The 24th, we have Patricia. The 31st, we have Writer's Block Party. The 7th, we have Patricia as promoting her book. So rather than a crafting event, she's going to talk about her new book, Sanctity. And then we have another performance coming up on the 21st. We have Joe Taylor coming up on March 14th. We've just got all sorts of stuff. thewatershedjournal.org/calendar. You can keep up with all of our goings on, including our Toast of the Winter Edition coming up this Friday at 7, another, of course, remote event. But we're really pumped for everyone who submitted. We can't wait to show everybody what this brand new magazine is like. So yeah, this Friday you can join us at 7 in the same way. So thank you to everyone who logged in to Airmeet, everyone who has been watching on Facebook and YouTube. This is about connecting to the readers. So thank you for making this something that is obviously very exciting for our community.
All right.
Anything else?
Next week.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.